Alessio and Barbara, it's Daniel Davis here. I have the feeling that I have done a message for you before. Your name seemed to ring a bell to me, but there's no record that I can trace back and find who I've done cameos for, and there have been an awful lot of them in the last few years. I'm coming up to 2,000 cameos that I've done since I began doing them a few years ago. But thank you for your compliment, and if you are getting back to me for a second time, I appreciate that very much. You're interested in my work actually began in the theater. It began when I was a student in drama school. I was fortunate enough to have classical training, working on my voice and my body and my imagination and my physical skills. So it was very good training for working in the theater, and I was very interested in only being in the theater. At that point in time, I was a young man. It was in the 60s. The late 1960s when I began training. And my teachers put an emphasis on working in the classics, Shakespeare, Ibsen, Chekhov, Shaw, the great writers, the great parts in the great plays. And that was my emphasis for the first 30 years or so of my career. I only worked in the theater. In those days, you see, people who worked in the theater usually didn't transition very well to film or to television, and vice versa. People who were primarily working for the camera would come to the stage occasionally, and they wouldn't have the skills for working on the stage necessarily. So I never thought about being in movies. I had grown up watching movies a great deal, but it always seemed to be something that other people did, but not me. And I didn't really I think the first time I ventured into Hollywood was in the mid-1980s, which I did because I was understudying Ian McKellen on Broadway in a play called Amadeus, playing the role of Salieri. And everyone kept telling me, in order to play these kind of roles on Broadway, you need to have something called TVQ. I didn't know what that was, but it meant that you were a sellable commodity because people had seen you on television. So they said, you should go to Hollywood and try it out. So I did. And I made a lot of pilots that didn't get picked up, and then I made the nanny pilot, which I thought didn't have a chance of being picked up, and of course it was, and we ran for 6 years. But the theater is my first love, and it's such a different way of working. You see, when you're on stage, if you're in you're in an audience of 300 people or 1,200 people or 3,000 people, you have to project your voice, you have to project your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings to a large crowd of people. But when you're working on camera, the camera's right there, and you can do very little. You don't have to speak very loudly. You can speak at room temperature and act at room temperature. And the camera is really more interested in what's going on in your eyes because the lens is that close to you. So there's always an adjustment that I have to make if I go back and forth from the stage to the world of television or film. Pardon me. It's allergy season. I live in upstate New York. I walked out yesterday morning to get into my car, and there was so much pollen on the car. You could stand a pencil up in the pollen. The car is black normally, but it was quite bright yellow yesterday morning, and it's all settling in my chest. So if I cough a bit, not to worry. It's just allergies. But I have had a career, a very fortunate career in the theater. I was able to do at least, I lose count because I've done some of Shakespeare's plays more than once, but I've been able to play Hamlet 4 times. I've been in 3 productions of Lear, playing Edmund, the Fool, and finally Lear. So I have nothing left on my bucket list about roles in Shakespeare. I've either aged past them, or am not, or I'm not interested in doing certain roles that in his less familiar plays, nobody produces them anymore, which is a shame, because there are some roles that, if they came along and came my way, I would be happy to do. But as I said, they seem to do the same Shakespeare plays over and over again for new generations, and there's 37 of them, and they probably are only about 20 of them that are performed anymore. But whenever I'm asked to do something classical, I jump at the opportunity. And I am less and less interested in working on the stage as I get older, because I will be 80 this coming November, and remembering the lines and saying the same words over and over again 8 times a week, it becomes tedious after a while. And my sister, who keeps track of my career better than I do, tells me that the last production I was in was my 300th production since I was 11 years old, which I find hard to believe, but that's the number. And close to 200 television shows, including 145 episodes of The Nanny. So I'm getting to the point where I think maybe I've done enough. You asked me if there's anything I wouldn't do again. I don't think I would do another musical. I find them very hard to do. I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy seeing them, to tell you the truth. But being in them is the most tiring thing of all. And you wake up every